Good evening, everyone. I'm Fred, and you're watching Homo Ludens, the show on history and board games. Tonight, we will live stream a teach and play of Pax Viking, and I would like to thank Ion Game Design, the publisher, for sending me a review copy for this show. This video is the first in a series where we will examine the depiction of Vikings in historical board games. And to start, we thought it would be interesting to play one of the latest games that are focusing on this specific era of European history. So this is a live stream. So if you're watching this live, please send us some question in the live chat and I bring them on screen. And remember that if you don't see your question appearing, it is very probable that it's because I keep it for the right moment in the discussion. If you're watching this after the stream, I will have added some time codes in the description so you can navigate through the video, as I'm planning to have a few different parts. Usually I try to have them structured. Sometimes I fail most of the time, but I will try to. And the structure would be as is. We'll first have a short introduction of my partners for that series. Then I'll bring in the designer of Pax Viking, Jon, and we'll have a brief interview with him. Then we'll have the rules teach, the actual game, and then we keep a bit of time at the end for the debrief. I'm not sure that we'll be able to finish the game. And if that's the case, well, what you can do is actually follow me on Twitter at Fred Serval, where I post a lot of stupid stuff, but also a lot of updates about history and board games, and we'll share the results of the final parts of our game. But before I welcome my guest, I would like to thank my backers on Ko-fi for supporting this show and making sure that we keep streaming in glorious 180p. So thanks to all of you. And if you want to support what I do, you can find my Ko-fi link probably in the description if I didn't forget about it. If not, you can find it on the YouTube page. But yeah. And as I was saying earlier, we're planning to do a short series of videos to explore the representation of Vikings in board games. And I thought that it would be interesting to bring in some people to do that exploration with me, have a bit of a smooth brain. And I thought, well, it would be nice to bring in some bigger brains to support me. And I invited two people that I think are really fitting the bill, Stuart and Adam. So I'm bringing the two of you here. Hey to both of you. I'm super happy to have you with me tonight. Really appreciate it. And so a bit about the two of you. So for those of you who listen to the podcast, you will probably already have heard Stuart because he was on the show where we were talking Warriors of God from MMP. He's a pretty cool medieval historian that specializes in crossbows. And for you, those of you who don't know, he recently released this book, awesome book. Well, I say awesome. I must admit I haven't read it yet, but it's on my read list. It's there next to my bed. I'm really ready to read it. I haven't, but it looks great. I've just shuffled through the pages. So this is Stuart, and then we have Adam. Adam, you have a YouTube and a Twitch show called Ludo History, that is dedicated to analyzing the depiction of history in video games. Really some in-depth analysis of weapons, garments, everything. Super interesting stuff. So I really recommend that you check it out. But maybe Adam, can you tell us a bit more about yourself?
Sure. So thank you first, Fred, for having me on. Super appreciate it. I am a Twitch streamer specializing in historical outreach. So I run over on twitch.tv/ludohistory to play all sorts of video games that depict the past, fantasy games, role-playing games, strategy games, the works. But more relevantly for this, I also have a master's degree in Viking and medieval Norse studies from the University of Iceland, and I currently have an article in press on the adaptation of Norse history in Uwe Rosenberg's Feast for Odin. So very, very excited to be digging into some other board games and get a return to that, which is something I don't normally get to do on stream. So I'm very excited about this.
And I'm very happy that you have the opportunity to do this with us. That's really cool. And maybe we can talk to you now, Stuart. Can you tell us a bit more about you and your historical street cred?
Yeah, so I'm kind of primarily a bit more of a late medievalist. That was my main background. I did a PhD on the development of bows and crossbows in the later Middle Ages, which I finished in 2015, 2016. And then since then, I've been kind of working on this book that is behind my head. There.
Yeah, you're pointing in the wrong direction.
Yeah. And that's been kind of my main project, and it just came out this year. So I kind of give a big picture history of the crossbow from kind of a bit of ancient China, but mostly medieval Europe. And I do talk a bit about Vikings and that. And I'm kind of generally a history botherer. I like posting about things, and I write a blog on stuartellisgorman.com about war games and history and book reviews and things. So I'm excited to play this. I think it's going to be really exciting. I've been kind of wanting to play this for a while. So
that's the perfect moment. And I will add some links in the description to your channel, Adam, and to your blog, Stuart, which is really cool. In-depth blog about history and wargaming. I want to say good evening to everyone. I can see that there is already quite a few people on stream, so I'm very happy that all of you made the time to be with us tonight. We hope that you'll enjoy it, and we have an additional guest. And our first guest for this series is Jon Manker. Hey, Jon. You're the designer of Pax Viking, and we're very happy to have you with us tonight for a few reasons. First, because we have a lot of questions for you. And the other is that it's always hard to do a rules teach without making some mistakes for those games that are a bit more complex. And when I have the designer on the show, they always make mistakes, but it's never my problem. I can always say, you know what, it was the designer, so that's really on them. So
yeah,
no,
that's the rule changed all of a sudden.
Oh yeah, exactly. I mean, you own the rules, so you can make up your own rules. So that's fine. You never make a mistake. You just update rules. So that's completely fair.
Exactly. No, but seriously, that's definitely so. And just a little backstage piece of information: when you design board games, it's important to read your own rules, because through rules iterations, it's usually another iteration of the rules in your brain. So it's important to read the rules. I won't do it today though, because I think I have this pretty much nailed down. But normally it's good to read your rules, especially during development.
Yeah. And so for how long has Pax Viking been out in retail now?
Oh, I should know that by heart. I think it's 2 years.
Yeah. And yeah, it is 2 years.
Thank you. I did. Great. Took the first question. Next question.
And I was wondering how was the reception to it so far?
It's been very good, I think. I was hoping for this to be. I mean, it's relatively complex. I think 3.2 or something on Board Game Geek, but still not super uber complex game. And I wanted it to be a intro or at least a first path to PAX, and maybe a game where you could get people unfamiliar with PAX more familiar with things you find in PAX games. But it's quite a lot of it stand on its own feet as a design, I have to say, because I did some additions to it, which is special for this very game. Yeah.
And maybe before we talk a bit more about the design, and I guess that maybe Stuart and Adam will have some questions regarding your approach to history and everything. But before we get into that, can you tell us a bit more about yourself, Jon? What do you do? Because outside of design, and how did you become a game designer?
Oh yeah, I mean, I'll try to keep it brief. I wanted to become a board game designer my entire life, actually, or correction, since I was 9. And after having done my first board game, I found a similar game in the stores, and I felt, wow, I can do this. So I thought I want to be a game designer, a board game designer. But that wasn't the case. That you could be. It's hardly a career today, to be honest. So I didn't do that. First, I worked in film, I worked in music, I started a web company, and I went into education. I'm relatively good at teaching, and also especially educational development. So I've started a bunch of educations at the universities, Södertörn University, the media technology subject, being part of starting informatics, journalism education, but in front of all, the game program, which is a 3-year bachelor's degree program in game design. The bachelor's degree program I didn't have when I was younger. But then I started I came back to. I mean, I did research and started this game program from 2007 onwards. I worked for a while in about a year in digital industry at the place called Paradox, and then I felt I wanted to do board games. That was my passion. So I kind of went in that direction instead, and that was a quite courageous step actually. But I started Iron Game Design 2014, and since then worked most of my time on Iron Game Design.
So it's interesting. So you were working at Paradox Interactive. Which series did you work on when you were there?
I was part of a ambition at the time. My role was project manager and also redesigner, so to speak, of their internal IPs and try to make mobile apps of those games that should be not a copy of the game, but adapted for mobile platform. Now this ambition was moved out of the way, and there were other areas that I was headed towards in the company, more into business development. But I felt when this occurred, I felt I would take the opportunity to focus on my real passion, the board game side of game industry. So different things happened. So I left Paradox and started Ion. But I worked at the thing called the intern. So that was Europa Universalis, Crusader Kings, Interstellar, those 6, 7, 8 grand strategy games that are their internal development team works on for the most part. I also worked as a co-designer on the Crusader Kings, the board game that was published by Free League, a Swedish company that primarily publish role-playing games, but they have done 2 at least board games. So I did quite a lot of work on that one.
And do you feel that your work at Paradox had an influence on the work that you did later as a game designer? Because Paradox games are pretty also heavy on the history part, or not that much?
Oh yeah, they are absolutely. Probably. But the way I think about game design and the way I wanted to do games was there from earlier, and that's probably why I was interested in Paradox. Rather than I gained that interest at Paradox. So I don't think I would have designed games in a very different way. They would probably have been at least the first ones and so forth. Now I'm actually really trying to make a little less complex games, because I also like games that, or there is an ambition in Ion to make more people find their way into the absolutely wonderful world of complex board gaming, and you don't do that by presenting more complex games. You need some stepping stones. So I'm quite passionate about making those stepping stones. But yeah, no, it's affected me for sure, because I spent a amount of time at Paradox, but it wasn't the core way of how I think about board games was there from before.
Great. But maybe we can talk a bit about the history behind the game, and I will ask you a first question, and then I will let Adam and Stuart take the lead. And my first question to you is, so there are a lot of games about Vikings, that because it's something that is pretty appealing as a theme. I think your game does portray Vikings in a pretty different way, in a maybe less spectacular way, but probably a lot more realistic. But I wanted to hear from you, Jon. How do you feel like? What do you think your game is doing differently than other games that maybe you have played that are portraying board games that are portraying Vikings?
Well, first of all, the theme is about the Vikings going eastwards, whereas the traditional thing about Vikings is their westward endeavors. And also this theme is about the networking and the merchant side of being a Viking, which was, I think, probably a much larger part than the pillaging and raiding. But the pillaging and raiding was the things that was written down by those who had more of a book culture going than the Vikings themselves. So I think this is very interesting to do. And also, I'm from Sweden, and the ones going to the east were more the Swedish Vikings. So there's a side of it to that as well. So, and then maybe if you look at what that does to the gameplay, it is that you don't have, there is a little element of, it's not really fighting, but you can kick each other out of certain places where you want to be. But most of the actions are about building your trade empire and doing other smart things and finding combos that will take you towards the victory that you in Pax style then grab from a set number of victories. So you don't count points, and that's I think that's maybe not really unusual. It's unusual, but that's just because it's a Pax style game. There might not be another Viking game that does that, but that's not really a statement from me when it comes to how I portray Vikings.
Yeah, sure. But I think it's really interesting, and I agree with you. So the geography that you're depicting in the game is quite different than what I usually see in Viking games, which I think is interesting. And someone was saying in the chat, Asekat, that it was nice to see a game that is not focused on the British Isles specifically and the raids happening there, but seeing it completely open. And we had a question from Dan from No Enemies Here. So by the way, happy to have you among us, Dan. That is asking a very American question, but eastward where to? When we were talking about the Vikings. And maybe what I can do now is probably bring the map on stream so we can maybe see a bit more about the geography of the game. That could be interesting. So can you talk maybe a bit about the geography here on the board?
Yeah, I think maybe you see my hand is purple here. So if you see that, I can point. So here is Sweden. Here are the British Isles. In this game, which some people have criticized me for, but it's a deliberate choice that the British Isles is not. It's not even a place where you can put any actions or stuff. It's just the starting location for one of the players, which are these small colored dots here. So you're going to different areas towards Volga, towards Burtas and Caspian Sea, Black Sea. And this is trying to encamp and include the whole area where Vikings at least are known to have gone. Some people say they went all the way down to Florida. Some people say they had links in Africa and so forth. I didn't really take those speculative stuff, but it's for sure that they went to at least Canada, which is Vinland up here. And it's relatively certain that they had trades with China, which is Chang'an here. So China is, of course, much further to the east, but it's represented on this map by this circle here, and India is down here. So, and maybe they didn't go there, at least not in big numbers, but they did trade with things coming and going through the Silk Road and so forth. So this is, and then everything in between. And it's, as you can see, also France, they raided Paris and all that, but France, Spain, I didn't put that much into it. There are places, Iberia and Normandy, where you can form alliances, but the focus is here on the Central and Eastern Europe and southern areas around Black Sea and Caspian Sea.
Mm-hmm. And if I can actually chime in here, one of the things I immediately love about this is that, like, the border on the very end, right, including the Caspian Sea, is the place that we definitively know that there is a raid that's extremely well attested from Sweden too. So it's called the Ingvar runestones. We've got like 100 of them up the coast of Sweden here. And they seem to have gone all the way over into what's modern Georgia. And then we actually, I guess, over here. And then we actually have Georgian annals that talk about people coming in about 1040 and crossing the Caspian Sea. And so this makes this the farthest eastward attested Norse expedition. And so it's really, really cool to see that little snippet being portrayed here. Something, yeah, as far as I know, no other Viking board game does.
No, it's. I think you're right in that, and I take pride in that. I mean, Ion Game Design has a central a central part of the way we think about board games is that we want to base them on real facts. They are not simulations, because the story you see in the game when you play of our games is something completely different, or could not completely, but it's not an accurate description of what actually happened. But every little asset in the game has some historical link to it. So, for example, why is the map where it is? Well, that's because there's the places where Vikings have gone, and all the tiles we have in the game are all based on real persons, real events, and real facts, and they're very short little mentions on the tiles as well, telling about this. I don't know, maybe I can. No, I'm not. I'm looking at the stream. Sorry, I should be looking here. That's sometimes a bit strange that you can actually point on the stream and you
But don't
actually
worry, I
see
will.
where the
I will show them on stream. Yeah.
Yeah. So on this one, for example, this is a guy called Helga of Kiev, and he founded the powerful Kievan Rus state. That's a very important person, by the way. So that's him and a artist's rendition of him. But all the tiles, 220 of them, have that little bit of information telling why is this thing in the game. And that I think that's maybe something too that stands out compared to other Viking games. I shouldn't say all of them at all, and I think many of them are really based on real events and facts and all that. So I won't, say that we are unique in any way, but we do put a lot of effort into this and a lot of pride.
And maybe a question on the research approach. So how did you approach the research on for this game? What kind of material did you read? Do you have any book recommendation for people who want to know more about Vikings? How was the process?
Yeah, well, I actually, I have read a few books myself. I've been interested in Vikings for a long time. I am they have researched my family back into 850 or so, and I'm most likely related to the sixth wife of Harald Hairfair, which is not the one who inherited the title or anything, but because that was only the first wife, as far as I understand. But I'm very proud of my Viking heritage, and I've been interested in this for a long time. But it's when it comes to books, I don't know actually which one I would recommend. There are a few that they're in Swedish. I read them, but I don't think they are translated. And also, to be fair, I've looked at Wikipedia quite a lot, because some of these things are very rare to find in encyclopedias even. So you have to go to places where you can find information about them. But I also try to always fact check this, and we have at our office people who are very into history and fact check stuff, and we also use external fact checkers for most of our games. And we also nowadays have a collaboration with a company in the United States called Worldbook, which publish a encyclopedia online, and we try to use their material, of course, as well. And the next game in the which is a prequel, but the next game in the same series as Pax Viking is called Vendel to Viking, and that will be done in collaboration with Worldbook when it comes to the content.
Great. But I guess we can probably jump in and start maybe talking about the rules. And if, of course, Adam and Stuart, you have any question while we play, feel free to jump in. And there is a very offensive question from Dan here that asks that if having the Viking gene gives you the urge to pillage everything. I think the game is showing that Viking is not really about pillaging, especially. But maybe you want to take that one.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. Maybe there is a Viking warrior in me that don't really get to come out in this society we live in today. But that just makes me focused. And also, as you note, and as I told before, I think the Vikings were great warriors, but maybe they were even better at networking. And I know they did. They were quite open in the way they did business. There is an interesting text called the King's Mirror. I think it's a bit later than when this takes place. I think it's from the 12th, 13th century, something. But in the King's Mirror, you can see a advice from a father to a son when he's about to take over the trading business. And there's a lot of things about let people have their religion, be nice to them. It's nothing about behead them and take their wives. That's not the way you do business. But of course, sometimes they used the steel when the word didn't work. But it's definitely something that I think still lives in Sweden in a way. How in Sweden we're good at teamwork, and I think it took quite a bit of trusting in each other and teamwork to go past the Atlantic or to go all the way down to the Caspian Sea and carry the ships sometimes and all of that.
Yeah, but I think that covers it.
I don't feel an urge.
Yeah, of course. Let's jump into the game.
Good question. Yes. They also found quite a lot of game pieces in Viking graves, actually, and they have an urge of playing games all the time. So that might also make me a Viking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do actually want to just double up on that recommendation, by the way, for River Kings.
Yeah.
Right. My go-to 3 books these days for this period, especially the connections, are River Kings, Anders Vinot's The Age of the Vikings, and then Neil Price's Children of Ash and Elm. I think probably Anders is the easiest one to pick up and just read. Neil Price's is about that thick, so it's a bit chunky, but highly recommend it. It's kind of the best archaeological look at this region I think we've gotten yet.
I was also going to recommend River Kings. River Kings is very good.
Yeah, it's so good.
Good. So that's a triple recommendation. So I guess we can have this one. But now let's jump into the games. I need to keep you guys on schedule.
Sorry.
Let's bring back the stream. No, that's fine. It's also the purpose of the show. So if we spend too much time on history, that's really good.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So we are there.
So here's the game. I'm going to explain it to you because you have never played it before, but I will do it in relatively condensed way because you are all board gamers, and as you say, the time is limited here. And this mod we have. Also, I want to mention we had help from a great guy called Samuel Williams, who helped us make this. We have also Robin in-house who makes tabletop simulator mods, but some of the scripting here he did. So down here is a little thing that's not normally in the game. I use it now for speed. So you can say game mode standard. There are different modes, number of players 3, and setup game. And I hope this works now.
Sounds like it's working. Yeah, I can hear the automatic shuffle. Yeah. Okay, good. Oh, and the market is appearing. It's really nice.
Wow.
Yeah. And there's also, it's seeded, it should have seeded 3. Yes, there they are. So there is one down here, one here, and one here. So because if we're 6 players, there is no pre-installed, so to speak, ventures on the map. But if you are fewer, you install 1 for each player. That's not. So it's in a 3-player game, you have 3 from the start. That's just the way of making the map more populated faster. So in this game, you represent a strong leader, jarl, or leader of a strong Viking family, who in theory might have had a chance of becoming the first king of a unified Sweden, or the first king that counts as a king in the history books. And in this, there are 9 of these Jarl boards in the game. You have chosen 3 of them. And down here we have Erik the Victorious, and you can highlight that perhaps.
Yeah.
In the stream. I don't think I can highlight things there. But
Yeah,
anyways,
I'm highlighting
Erik
it.
the Victorious, and he is the one that actually became the first king of Sweden. So he's in there. But there are 8 other aspiring kings, and the others you chose was, I think, Gunhilde, right, and one from the east. I didn't see which one you picked actually.
So Ingvar.
Ingvar
It was
Röriksson.
Ingvar. Yeah, Ingvar Röriksson. Good. So if you keep Ingvar up, on this board, you can see the things you can do. There's a little sequence of play to the left, right, sorry. A little sequence of play to the right. And then you have the different actions you can take at the bottom. So the standard actions, which you always do, are invest, journey, play, activate, and parlay. And invest is getting stuff from the market that was generated to the right of the board there, as you saw when we did the setup. Journey is to move your longships. Play is to take things you invested in from the market. That goes to the hand. And then if you have it in your hand, and move a longship to the place where this thing or person occurs, the card. You can focus on the card. That's like this one, Ahmed ibn Fadlum. And in this case, there are 4 different kinds of tiles, and this one is a advocate or a friend, and you need to go to a place to befriend him. And this guy lives in Abbasid. And then you have to travel to that area, which is to the east of Caspian Sea. And if you're there, in a circle there with one of your ships, you can play it. So that's the 3rd action. And then the 4th action, if we go back to the board, to the player board. So that's you invest, take it from the market, journey to get somewhere, play to play it if you are there in the right place. One of the 4 kinds are called venture. So if you stay here, you see in the circles up here, it says advocate, advocate. And you also see God. And that's 2 kinds of tiles. There are advocates and there are gods. Then there are ventures. And the advocates and gods are played onto the map. That's you creating ventures out in the map. And the 4th kind of tile is called events. And that's a one-time thing that happens, usually quite strong. It happens when that's an event. It happens when you play it, and then it's discarded out of the game. In this case, yeah. And there is one more important thing about the ventures. The events. If you look at the events again. The events. And that is that every time you play an event, you make a win check. So you check if someone has won. And that's, of course, an important thing. It doesn't matter if someone else plays the event and you have enough things to win the game, you win. It doesn't need to be you who play the event. But normally it is something you have, planned for. And how do you win the game? Well, in this game, you don't count points. Instead, you have a set number of win conditions. And we have them up here. In this script, it takes 1 of each difficulty level. So, and I think normally I advise people to play with 4 of the novice ones, the green ones, the easiest ones. But since we want to shame, and also since you are experienced board gamers, I think it's okay to have 1 of each. This has also been you talked about how it's been received, and it had a great Kickstarter, and it's sold out, and we are reprinting it, and so and many people are very happy with the game. And one thing that has been mentioned is these victory conditions that have 4 different difficulty levels, because then you can play the game as a handicap system. You can have relative beginners playing and they can complete any of them, whereas maybe a very seasoned player can only do maybe the advanced one, if you have 2 novice and 2 advanced level victory conditions. So you can mix and match any kind of mix of 4 different victory conditions here, and there are 20 of them in the game as of now. So it's quite a bit of replayability there. So if we look at one, for example, a yellow one there, that's a standard, and that's you have one post, and that's the circle is a circle on the map. One with your, and that's the different. That's called followers, and we're going to talk about them soon. But that's the small wooden things you have on your jarl board, the things that you play out on the map and show control. And then you have one post with your follower on it in every land region in one wind. Okay, so if we go back to the map, then we can see there are different colors here, and there are purple, blue, green, and orange, and there are bigger. They are separated. So the green one, for example, is separated into 5 different regions. So the green is a wind. That's the west. Here's the south. The blue is north. And then in the east, the green one, there are 5 regions. So according to this one, you need to have at least one of your follower established in each of these 5. If you have that, and someone plays an event, including yourself, you can claim the victory. Unless someone else has something as well, and then it's I have to check. Double check.
You need to check the tiebreakers.
Yeah, I think it's the most follower established actually. But yeah, so that's how you win. You try to set it up so that you have whatever it's stated on these victory conditions, and then when an event is played, you grab the victory. Now, note that for simplicity in the novice one, the green one, that one does not need an event to be played. That's just automatically checked at the end of each player's turn. So if you manage to have that at your end of your turn, you win. You have more followers established of every type than any other rival. So you need to have. There are 4 different kinds, and the 4 different kinds are seen here. We have the jarldom, the theocracy, the Sweden, and the Rus, and these are kind of simulating different ideological paths that Sweden could have taken at the time. Jarldom would have been to continue more in the standard Viking way, with the Norse gods and the way of trading and pillaging as it has been, and staying more strong jarl, loosely put together, and the king wasn't that strong. Then theocracy, which is probably, you can argue, is what happened, because the king strengthened his power by turning into Christianity, and then it went back and forth from Christianity to the Norse gods and so forth. So it wasn't really a strong bond immediately. It took actually several centuries, I would say, the first, if we count the whole history of it. And then Sweden would be a strong in Sweden only, and the jarldom is more like the pillaging side of going into that kind of Viking life, and the Sweden is more going into with a focus on the trading side of Vikings. And then the Rus, finally, the 4th kind, that's simulating that the Rus Empire, which was founded by at least the Vikings were part of founding it, and of course, they were not many. It was established tribes as well and so forth. But that state grew strong, and if that had been more aligned with Sweden, and Sweden might have become a part of it. That's the story behind those. So you can see a little hint towards what kind of history your particular game ended up in, if you look behind the logics behind these. And that's, of course, something we have weighed in when we have given those followers to different tiles. Each of the ventures, gods and advocates have a follower connected to them. And sometimes it's not obvious what it would have been. So we even it out. It's also important to make a game that is works well as a game, so to speak. So yeah, that was a mix of behind the scenes thoughts and how to play. But I think we should just start playing, and I can say there are a few details, but I don't want to. I think it's better to take them as we go along playing.
Yeah, because we'll take actions.
I will just be on the way.
And I think that as we go, and we're not going to play competitively here. I don't know how you are, Adam. I know that Stuart will want to play competitively because he has this urge to crush people.
Just you. Very nice to everyone else. It's just you.
So I think it's good if we stumble our way through the game and then have Jon explain us.
I will help you all equally and be very public with smart decisions that you can do, and then you will have a turbo charge on your learning curve.
Sounds awesome. So who should...
The big thing I'm unsure of before we go further is, right, one of the actions lets us establish the parlay action, and I'm not entirely sure I understand how establishing posts work without any cards in our hand.
Sorry, I should have said that. Yeah, yes. I forgot to mention the fifth one. So we look at one of the yard boards again. I only had 3.
Or Jon, you're cutting off a bit. I don't know if it's only on my side, Adam and Stuart.
I'm not hearing anything either.
Yeah. I think we might have lost Jon, and I'm looking at his ping skyrocketing on TTS, and that sounds like
technology.
Yeah, it sounds like a potential crash, and he crashed. We lost Jon.
Rip.
Yeah.
Well, technical difficulties, folks. We'll be back in a moment.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
And then the final one is parlay. I have a little. The image is gone. Did you hear what I said there?
No, you disappeared and you lost TTS also.
Oh, I lost TTS. All right.
Yeah.
Oh, I did. Yeah, okay. I'll try and reconnect. But thank you. And so what I said was activate. On each venture, there is a text. And this text is an effect. And if you choose, for example, this gain 1 silver for each follower you have on a trade center. And these icons, we use iconography, and you can find them on the Rosetta Stone to abbreviate the most common words and make it easy to grab fast when you read. So give 1 silver. So if you have many followers on different trade centers, you get, this is a good money machine. And then you use the action activate for that to happen. And then you have, and that's a trade center, for example. And the trade center, they have persistent effects. It's only the ventures that are activatable. And then you have the final one, which is parlay, to take a venture already on the map. It could be the pre-printed one that we saw with Birka, for example. That it could be the ones that you have that were seeded during setup. Or it could be one where your competitors are, and then if you need more long ships than they, and then you kick them out and you take over the place.
And to your question, Adam, about how can we settle posts, so that's one of the action that we have. Also, we're going to be able to buy cards from that market, and you can see the price for each of the cards on the bottom. So those are cards that are available to us, but we can
Exactly.
also always buy the card on the top of the draw deck.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's
Sure.
part of the invest action. But I think it's good if we start playing, and I'm just gonna tell you what's a good thing to do. And after the first turn, I think you'll be much more into it. And it doesn't really matter what you do the first turn, so the competitiveness of it is not destroyed.
Sounds good.
At least not when you're beginners. It's not very important. So, and who is going to start?
I guess I can go first, and then it's clockwise. So then there would be
I think that makes
Stuart
sense.
and then Adam. So you can see two rows, because both Stuart and I have played PAX games before. So I think we're in more familiar territory than you are. Okay, so I have my board here that reminds me what are the different actions that I can do, and then I have those tokens, and those are the number of actions that I can take. And when I take them, I just place them on my board, right? Is that right, Jan? Oh, did we lose Jan again? We might have lost. So for those of you who are watching us live, yeah, Jan is in his summer house, and I know that he has dodgy internet, so we knew that it might happen. But I guess that the thing that I'm going to do is I have 3 silver. Probably the first thing that I'm going to do is invest. So I want to get some cards to give myself some options in the future to do stuff. So we have this advocate in the Abbasid here, Ahmed. But the Abbasid is pretty far away. I don't know when I'm going to be able to go there. So even if it's a cheap card that feels a bit hard to reach, then I have this event that wouldn't have a lot of effects, because in this case, I could gain 6 money, I guess. But then sending a rival back to Normandy might be a bit tricky, because none of us have long ships out anyway. And this is out of reach for me because it costs 4 silver and I only have 3. So I'm a bit tempted to just go and... Oh, and I can see that we have Andy, the developer, that is here. Actually, Andy, if you want, what I can do is send you the link to the stream if we don't have Jan coming back. Then you can join and be his backup for the rules teach if you wish. If that makes sense, and if that works for you, just send me your email address, and I will send you the link. But yeah, the first action that I'm going to do is I'm going to get a card from here, so that's going to be free, and I'm going to play with an open hand. So that's that, and I think that when I buy a card from the top here, I have to refresh the saga track. So that should be this. Boop, boop. And that's pretty much it. So that was my first action. Then I think I'm gonna journey. And journey lets me move my long ships, but it's based on where I am. So where you can see here, I have something that tells me that my home is a shield with a yellow circle and a red circle surrounding it. So I need to check where that is on the board.
Where you are.
And I am here. So I'm actually starting in... Actually, I'm starting home. So I'm starting in London. So yeah, very thematic. So that's pretty cool. So I'm going to journey. And when I journey, what it does is I can move 1 long ship up to 3 steps. Interesting. So 3 steps is going to be... My first step is going to be to go away from London to be in the German Ocean. That's step 1.
Yeah.
Step 2, I'm going to go here in the Baltics, and then I'm going to think about... So now I could potentially enter any one of those ports, or I could enter that region, but I'm thinking that maybe it's better to be in a place where I can take an action in the future. So I'm going to go here. Boop. So that's my second action. Third action. So to activate the card, I would need to have a longship that is not exhausted, and this one is exhausted because I already moved it. So I'm going to flip it to show that I've exhausted it. Great.
Okay.
So that's my second action. And third action, you know what? I'm going to journey again. I think I'm allowed to take twice the same action. I'm just not allowed to use that longship anymore because I already used it.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm going to go into the Faroe Islands. So it's 1, 2. I'm going to leave Iceland to you, Adam, because I feel that would be a bit unfair. You're a guest here, and I want to be nice. So I'm going to go. I'm going to go into the Faroe Island here. Boop. And I'm going to flip this to activate to indicate that I took that I exhausted it. And what would be my third action?
Did you invest? Isn't that your third one?
Yeah,
right. Four actions, right?
Yeah, actually, I'm thinking that because I discarded that card at the bottom, now actually Mastalus becomes available for me to buy for 2 coins. Not really sure what it does, but I think I'm gonna get him just in case. And I'm gonna buy it for 2. Whoops! And I'm gonna keep my hand open, so I'm keeping this here. I'll see when Jon comes back because I bought an event not knowing that it was an event, and I'm just not sure that it's gonna trigger automatically or not. So I guess we'll see. But that was my fourth action. Was a second invest here. I'm done with my turn, and I'm gonna refresh because that was my action phase. So I did influence, I did action, and now it's my winter solstice. I'm gonna gain 1 silver per type that I established, and I've been really bad at establishing anything, so I'm not gaining any money, and I still at 1. So that's probably not a good tip if you're a beginner player. Probably don't do what I just did. I think it's pretty. I launched a pretty bad economy, but we see if it comes back to me. So now that I'm done with this, I should discard to my hand limit. My hand limit is 4. I only have 2 cards in my hand, so I guess it's fine. And probably this one will get triggered anyway. So we'll see about that. And then I refresh the market. So we click on that button and refresh. And we're here. So maybe, Andy, if you're watching this, the question that you could potentially answer, if you can or and don't want to join the stream, is once I bought this event, does it trigger automatically? That's the only question that I have for you. And I guess it does, but I just want to make sure. Oh, wait a minute. Russ is actually answering. So if you play an event with a play action, I believe, you have to be in the region to activate it. Yeah, okay. And I'm not in Dublin, so I guess I can potentially activate it in the future then. Cool. But then that's it for me.
Okay.
And that's back to you, Stuart. And I'm going to check while you play if I got any news. No, yeah. And the answers, no, events do not trigger automatically. Cool. So that's potentially something I can do afterwards. Actually, I could probably have planned for it and going into Dublin to activate it. So that was pretty stupid. So really don't do what I just did. You can go, Stuart.
Okay, let's see if I can figure out what I'm doing. So putting influence down. I was looking at influence actions. Theocracy, establish a little cross on any cross venture or hands shaking. Do I have to be there?
So which one are you looking at?
Looking at the influence action theocracy.
So the thing is that those 4 on the bottom here, they're going to be influence actions, but those are going to be based on the fact that you have more followers of that on the board. So at the beginning of your turn, you're going to check: do I have more Jarldom followers than any other player, more theocracy, more Sweden, or more Rus? And if you do, you will take that token here to indicate that you have that specific kind of kind of influence. And that means that those actions would be available to you during your turn. But in that case, at the beginning of the game, we all suck. So we only have the basic action that you have here: invest, journey, play, activate, and party.
I need to get some cards, probably to let me put some people down for some cylinders.
Okay, and now we have Sam, the creator of the TTS module. So that's great. Nice to have both of you. So just if you just joined, we were with Jon before, but Jon had some internet connection and disappeared. So now we are on our own, thumbling through the game. If any one of you want to jump in, I'm happy to send you the link to join the stream platform. I would be very grateful, but we can also hope that Jon will join us back. I guess that's one of the fun parts of the live streams. So your first action is going to be an invest action. Great.
Yeah, I'm going to get a card because I think getting cards is, part of PAX.
Yep.
I think that makes sense. But you only have 2 cards you have access to, though.
Yeah, or I can blind draw.
Yeah, you can blind draw from the top.
I would take the west away. $6 money seems like quite a lot of money, though.
It will take the west away, and it will make Birka available, which is an advocate that tells that after establishing a trade post in the north, and north is at wind here, which is
I could actually get the Birka and play him, couldn't I?
Yeah, definitely. That seems pretty doable.
Yeah, so if I do this and I blind draw, it'll shift everything down 1.
Yeah. Oh, just take 1.
Not the whole stack. Draw.
If you just click and drag, there we go.
Yeah. Okay. That's my hand. I'll put it out like Fred is so that people can see.
So you got the Khazar. Okay.
Before I get anywhere near there. So then I need to get a boat. So
the Khazar are going to be here. So that's pretty far away, but that can be a good card for the future.
So I start next to Birka. So I can just go 1 to there and then into there, presumably.
Yeah.
Flip. And then I could invest again. This time I could spend 2 to buy.
Yeah, Birka.
This guy, Edmund Eriksson. So go down to 1. And then do I need to
and then you could
play him?
You can play it. So that would be because you're in the spot, so you can do that. And because you can see, it's an advocate card, so you would place it on your board as one of your 2 advocates on the side of your board.
How do I establish a trade route?
Yeah, that's another question. I guess it's going to be a venture, one of those venture cards. And I don't see any of them. Not sure. But yeah. That was... Oh, and the play was...
1 more.
Oh, yeah.
But then 2 invests, 1 journey.
No, I think that's it, because then you played that card.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was on. So do I play, yeah. So 1 on play. Great. Okay.
Nice. So then you're done. And that would be back to you, Adam. And we can definitely help you out.
Yes.
So first of all, where do you start?
I started in Gandvik, on the coast of, I guess, Estonia. Okay. So, I think the first thing I'm going to do is invest in this venture. I can just refresh that track again.
And this venture would be available here, which is not too far away from where you are, actually. Because you start here, that would be 1, 2, 3.
Am I able to do that, or does the rivers... So the fact that the rivers don't meet up in here mean that I would go like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, we'll explain how the movement works. So you can do 3 steps, and you start from here, and your first step would be in an adjacent space. So the sea is a space, or the region itself is a space. So that would be 1 space. If 2 regions have a wide border, it means that through the river, you can actually move from one to another. So for example, if you wanted to go into the Bertas region, your first step would be to go from Ganvik to Bjarmaland here. The second one would be potentially to go here in Pechenegs.
Yep.
And then there is also a white border here, so your third step would be to be in Burtas.
Gotcha.
The only thing is that you wouldn't be in a post yet. So in your next turn, you will have to move into one of those. So get an extra step to move there, to be able to play your card in there. But actually, yeah, because this is a venture, so you need to be in a post to be able to play it. But you'll be ready for the next turn to be able to go in and play the card.
Gotcha. Okay. Next question is, if I were to say split that up into 2 chunks, if I go to a spot like say here,
So that would be 3 steps. 1 here,
yeah,
2 here, and your third step here.
Yes. The question, though, is then if I were to do the establish action after that, how does that actually work?
So the establish action here, and let me check.
Or the,
so
I guess, parlay action.
The parlay one, yeah. Boom, boom, boom. The thing is that you would need, so because you would be alone, you would just straight up establish in there, so there won't be any challenge.
Mhm.
And the establish action will enable you to either place the followers on the indicated spot on your board, or you would place it on the post. So if you have one of those venture, but this one is in Purtas, but if you had one that was matching the Pechenex region, you would be able to place it there.
Okay, so I have to do the venture first in order to start establishing things?
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Then, obviously it's move into Bjarland, 2, 3.
Yeah, and now you're in Berthas.
Then we move a second time.
Oh no, wait a minute. So once you've done this
Oh yeah,
first
that's
move
exhausted.
Here,
yeah,
it's going to be
so
exhausted.
that flips.
Yeah. And Jon is back. Whew.
Hooray!
Hi.
Hey Jon, I tried to do my best. I think that
internet failure here, but I think I'm good now.
I think that we managed, and we had Andy and Sam in the chat who
all right, excellent,
who kind of corrected us. I don't think that we did any mistakes, but I think that for now we're good. And
Andy and Sam knows the game extremely well. In particular, Andy. He was the developer, and he has played this maybe more than anyone.
Yeah.
Yep.
And he is mentioning the fact that there are 2 Rosetta Stones that come with the game, so they were like this. Wait a minute.
Yes.
Probably good.
I can see them, but there still is a lot of ambiguity in how that works and interacts with the cards. The Rosetta Stone doesn't define that in a way that I am processing.
Okay, but then I guess that's we can that's what we can. Probably,
so the Rosetta Stone is kind of a where you look for the terminology in front of all, and then the Jon board will tell you very, very, very briefly what you can do for each chapter and also the sequence of play. That's kind of how it was separated. So whenever you see a term or an icon that you wonder what it is, that's when you can check the Rosetta Stone.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but so Adam here took his first 2 actions. So the first one was he invested in that venture card in that he can activate in Burtas. So that's a venture. Then he moved from his location to Burtas and exhausted his longship. So he would be set up for in his next turn to actually place the venture.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we did that.
He has to be on a circle.
Yes.
To play. So he can't play the next turn probably.
But he could move first because you can set up a venture even if you are exhausted, right?
You can't activate. Yeah. So if you check your Jarl boards, if you can hover over the Jarl board so we can see that. It's easier when I talk about it.
Yeah, but I mean, so he couldn't be able to activate it, but he could set the venture. Like he could establish. He could establish it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Okay, so I can do the play action now, basically, in order to get this venture in place. Is that what I'm hearing?
No, not yet, because you're still not on that spot.
So what is the thing that I'm able to do right now?
So the thing that you're going to be able to do right now is but you're able to do the other things, but you're not going to be able to play that card yet. So you could do another invest action. You could journey again.
Okay.
And so you could occupy potentially different spots here that are going to be that are already on the board. But you're not going to be able to establish the venture just yet.
Okay.
Yeah, so you can do any of the 4 actions in any combination. You can do 4 with one or one of each or so on.
And so you're investing again, and because you're taking from the top, I will discard the bottom one and refresh the deck.
Yeah.
Okay, the one I got is an event in Chang'an. Immediately establish any available followers. Ignore cost and requirement.
And available, Jon, would that mean that...
that icon there was an advocate, not a follower. So that's one of the great cards.
Yep. Okay. So, but I would have to have an advocate that would have been played already, or have an advocate in my hand in order to be able to do that?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And then you can just disregard where
the place and cost for
any
that.
available, so it can be taken directly from the market.
Oh, okay. So it's really powerful. Okay.
Okay. Heck.
And if you want, you can check all the terms that are in all caps. They are in the Rosetta Stone, so you can check there for available, and it should say that it's.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Well, let's just read it as always.
Yeah.
Hand,
So
your board, saga track, or discard pile.
Nice.
Okay. Great. So then for my last action, I think I should take the journey action again to get another longship out on the field.
Yeah.
And I think I would go 1 and then 2 port in Odalen in the Sapmi.
Yeah.
And then we exhaust that.
Odalen.
Yep. Perfect. And that's exhausted, and that's all 4 of my actions.
Yep. And then you would get some income, but none of us have been really good at placing followers on the board. So
again, I still don't know how we get followers on the board. I've asked this question a couple times now, and I still don't know it.
So I think that's when we are going to be establishing. So when we establish, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jon, but we are going to be able to place followers on those spaces that are on the side that match from our board. Yeah.
Exactly. So establish or play. If you play, you also put these on gods and advocates that you play to your Jarl board. So if you look at one of
I put Rus on Burka here? He's got the symbol.
Yeah.
The guy on my board.
Ah, yeah. So you could
one on him.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, but
so when we establish something, if it says that we place a follower on there,
that would be on that spot on the top.
That will put a follower on that spot.
Where there are these,
So, for instance, right, the one in Bertas here gives me 2 longships right here, but it doesn't give me any followers right there. Is that right?
Yes.
Or does it give me
when
one?
You establish it.
Yeah, it gives you a.
It gives me a Christianity. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Cool. But then I guess that's gonna be back to me. So I'm gonna return those stuff. I'm gonna refresh those 2, and I guess that now I can do stuff. So I guess I can start to do some parlay action. So I'm in the Faroe Island over there.
Yeah.
And I feel like I want to be friends with them. So I guess I can do a parlay action.
I just want, before you do anything, I just want to ask, because that was something that I was about to say when I was kicked out by internet. Did you adjust the amount of silver you have from the start based on player?
So we did not.
No, is the second one getting 1 extra coin and the third one 2 extra coins?
Exactly.
Yeah, so that would be 1 extra coin for Stuart and 2 extra coin for you, Adam.
Gotcha.
And furthermore, some of the jarls has a special ability that gives them. We didn't mention those. I was about to say that when we talk about startup money, which it's usually when I tell them. And yours, Gunhilde here, for example, start the game with 4 additional silver.
Yeah.
That's
So
part
I
of
should
your-
have, yeah. So I should be at 5 then.
Yeah, and
I have
then
way more
all
money
of you
than I
also
thought.
have a little special ability there, and it's worth taking note of what it is. So for Eric the Victorious, for example, if you control long ships you control that are in a post, the first long ship you control that counts as 2. The second and onwards counts as 1. So you're very strong if you have the first one is very strong for you. And you others have other special abilities. If you want, we can check them now. If you didn't check them earlier, it might be good.
No, we didn't check. So Ingvar has
That your followers counts as long ships on
Mhm.
trade centers and powerful allies, and that's
Yes.
the pre-printed things on the map.
Yep.
So
Good.
if you have, they are much more easier to defend. So in Ådalen, for example, if you have it established and you also have one of your ships there, it counts as if you have 2 ships there.
Mhm.
But
Great.
it's only on those pre-printed ones, the trade centers and powerful allies. And Gunhilde had something else.
wait a minute. So I guess that's. I'm going to. Wait a minute. I just lost the connection to my mouse. So everything should be fine. Give me a second. Yes. Okay, I'm back. The first thing that I'm going to do now is to do a party action. I'm going to do a party action here in the Faroe Island. But that cost me 5 to do, right?
Yes, if you want to establish, so the pre-printed ones has a cost in themselves, so to speak, because you don't buy them from the market. So that one costs 5 to establish, or parlay, which means that you will establish it if you're alone.
I'm going to go crazy and do it. Spend all my money on this. So I'm using one of those Ross follower and placing it on the Faroe Island. So now I have this. Does this mean that those 2 longships are on my side now?
Yes, so then you put 2 of your shields on them.
Yep.
And 1 shield on each, so to speak.
Yeah. So I'm going to take...
Now it's a balancing game, Fred.
Yeah, it becomes a dexterity game. Like that's...
Physics.
I think the rule is you have to take a shot every time they fall off, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm going to... Okay, that works.
A glass of mead.
Yeah.
Okay, that works. I did it. I'm not sure how stable it is, but that's what I
No,
did.
you can probably group them, but anyways.
Yeah, that's gonna be fine. For now, I'm gonna party again, and I'm gonna party here in Svea here, and I don't have to pay anything. So that means that I'm gonna place a Sweden follower here.
Yeah. And the reason why you didn't pay anything is that this was one of the standard
Seeded one.
adventures that were seeded from the start, so they were just there up for grabs.
Yeah.
Great. And I guess that now I could potentially activate this one because I have a longship that is unexhausted and a follower on the board.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna activate this, flip it, and when I'm here, I get 5 silver. And if I was collocated with a rival, I would give them 2.
And then rival is the other ones, and collocated. It's good to check what that means, so we all know.
So longships that are in the same region, a post is always in a region. But I have so that means that I'm paying 2 to Stuart.
Exactly, because he's in the same region, but you don't pay 2 to
Adam.
up in Sapmi.
I don't want to give money to Stuart. Yeah. Ugh.
Everybody likes giving me money. It's great.
I really dislike it. Good. And then with my last action, I'm gonna journey, and I'm gonna use one of my new ships, my new friends. one, and I'm going to go into Dublin. And I think I'm going to group them because that's a bit too annoying. So how can I do that?
I thought they were. I'm sorry, I don't know exactly myself how to do that.
Yeah, but that's fine. I think I would keep it as a dexterity game for now. I'm sure I'll handle it. No worries.
I guess.
Yeah, you should be able to like click and drag to select a group of objects.
Yeah,
If you just click and drag over a thing, you'll highlight the whole group.
Yeah, I do, but I don't have a group option once I right click on them.
Oh no, then you just pick up and move. The whole thing moves as a group.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and they don't move afterwards. Yeah, that works. Okay,
Yeah.
good. But those were all of my.
You have to select both all the time.
Those were all of my actions. So now I can gain 2 silver because I've placed 2 of my followers, and you can see on the board that there is this thing that reminds me to get a silver. So that's 2 silver for me, and I won't have to discard because I only have 2 cards in my hand, and the hand limit is 4. So that's back to you, Stuart.
Okay. I have to make decisions. You got a Rus follower, so I'm no longer. I had a brief glorious moment as having the most Rus.
Yeah, that means you're not getting the influence.
I don't really know how it works, but
yeah, good that you have talked about that as well. I usually explain that one turn into the game because then that's the first time you can ever get it. But that will unlock your special actions, or they are not called special actions; they are called follower actions. I think it says on the yard board anyway the name of it. I can't read it now, but it's the 4 actions to the left. But I guess you talked about it already.
Journey. And bring a boat. The sea for 1, and into here for 1, and then down here for 2, then for 3. Start going south.
And make sure you're not in a circle.
Very crowded. There's a lot of Fred.
Exactly.
Oh, and this one is spent actually. Oh no, it's not. Yeah.
So, second thing in the market is a Byzantine venture. Would you swap that out if I play that on Byzantine, or is it because there is already one there?
Yeah, you can play. You can play to. Well, you can play there.
Yeah,
there's another one.
There's one open. But if you want to replace a place, if I remember this correctly, you need to be established there, and then you can play onto it, so to speak. So you can't just take away something that's not yours. But in Byzantine, there is place.
I have 4 money, thanks to Fred.
Yeah, I feel you didn't really thank me enough. I was hoping that you would be way more grateful because I did this on purpose. I was trying to build up an alliance. It was not completely. I thought about it. Hard.
Making friends. It's always a good place to start. Oh, I never know what to do in PAX games. That's my problem.
But what do you think? I wanted to ask you, Adam. Did you play a lot of video games on your channel that were depicting Vikings recently?
Oh yeah. So I mean that was where I started and where I got is still kind of my specialty. So obviously Assassin's Creed Valhalla is probably the most recent big budget game. So played through basically all of that. But coming up later, probably next month, I'm going to be starting Expeditions Viking, which is very much like a Pillars of Eternity style isometric RPG, but set in mostly historical. Starts in Denmark and then goes to England a bit later in the game.
And how do you feel about the depiction of Vikings in video games?
It can be kind of rough, to be honest. Right, sometimes it's like really, really, really good and creative, and we're starting to finally see more of that, where it's moving away from just raw Vikings hit stuff to be more interesting depictions. But at the same time, right, there's so much popular expectation around what the Vikings are and do that it's really hard to get into the nuances and explore some of the weird bits, right? So, like, actually, this is a question I had for you, Jon. A lot of these things are referring to sagas, right? The saga track, and it's all marketed as like making your own saga. When, of course, the sagas are a very specific event or literature phenomenon that postdates the Viking Age by over 200 years in pretty much exclusively Iceland. There's a couple of Swedish ones, but the vast majority of it is Icelandic. So, right, is there a particular reason for engaging in or calling those sagas, or is that mostly just this is the Viking term to use?
It's kind of the Viking term to use, and also a relatively short word. Sometimes when you do games, you don't want words that has the same first letter, meaning different terminology. So you have that kind of considerations. But it's also true that these were written by several people on Iceland, primarily Snorri Sturluson, which is also portrayed in the promo pack. So one of the first promo pack will have Snorri Sturluson as the advocate, and that's actually the ability that was there are guest designers for the promo pack. So that one is designed by Cole Worley, and he wanted to have Snorri Sturluson, and so Snorri Sturluson looks like Cole Worley now. Anyways, that's but the sagas they wrote, the sagas Snorri and others wrote, they were about all of the Viking things that had been going on, all the way from where did Odin come from and all that. So of course a focus on Iceland and all that, but there are stuff from other places as well. But sure, it might be odd if you're a hardcore historian, since this is more about the eastward thing, and the eastward thing is maybe the one that are least represented in the sagas.
Yeah, I mean there are a few. You're right. Right. So Ingvar, I think even Ingvar Röriksson here is in an Icelandic saga, telling of his death somewhere out here.
Yeah,
but of course that's also one that borrows heavily from Isidore of Seville. There's like a giant dragon named Ioculus, which is a Latin word. So, right, a bit of the weirdness of 14th century texts describing 11th century Viking expeditions.
Yeah, well,
3,000 miles away from where they occurred.
Saga is it's more of what we people today associate with sagas, and that this is a. What I wanted to tell with the selection of the term was more that this is a saga. This is not a real simulation, and it's a story that you build together when you do this game. But the events are real as they were in the sagas, but they were probably exaggerated and maybe misunderstood. In that case, from time passing.
Yeah,
and
I like that framing.
I think it's your turn. I can see that Stuart, you bought 2 cards and
move 2 boats.
And move 2 boats. I would say, and I don't take this the wrong way, Stuart, but I think it's a pretty weak turn. I think.
Yeah, it was a little underwhelming.
I'm kind of.
At least I didn't give money to anyone else, so
yeah,
I can.
Okay.
I'm making a push for the south. Giving up on the north. It's too much view in it.
Okay then. So in that case, I think the first thing I'm going to do is invest in order to get this bottom card. Happy bear for trade.
That will cost you 1.
Yep. So yeah, we'll do that. Second thing, we're going to move this into here, which third thing should let me play this venture, right? Or to parlay.
Yep.
In order to establish this venture here. Thank you both.
Yeah, I'm gonna. Yeah.
There we go. And that should drop it. Does that drop the? Do I get to choose which follower, or does it always
No,
the
it's
one on the left?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Christianity. Hooray.
Right.
Or actually, I chose the term theocracy deliberately because I wanted to have a little openness towards that. Maybe it wouldn't have been Christianity; it could have been some other religion that went into the to become what was selected as a means of power for the ones. So I call it theocracy for a reason.
I'm gonna take Just so,
Yep, you're gonna do that.
Yeah.
Fair. I'm working upside down, so the left side of my board.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. So
yep. Okay. Then the last thing I'm going to do, because that was a move, right? That was a journey. That was in parley. And then I'm going to do one more journey to take up one of my boats and go 1 and 2 and drop it in the port here.
Nice. Good. So back to me.
Then I gain 1 silver for being the end of my, or for having a follower, right?
Yeah, a theocracy follower. You're gonna get 1 silver for that. Yeah.
Yep.
Yes,
And then we refresh the board.
Yep.
Yep.
Good. So actually now, and that's maybe something that you were going to be able to expect, Jon, but I'm the one with the most Sweden influence, I think. Yes, I am.
Yes. So then you, if you have the most of a certain follower, more than anybody else, and this is checked at the beginning of each turn, each player's turn, just double check these. And if you do have it, you take one of your action markers and put it up there and take the Sweden action marker instead. And that's not Sweden. That was the.
Oops, sorry. Yeah. I was eager to get this one, but that's not the one.
This means that now you can this marker works exactly as the other. You can use that to mark and take an action of one of the 5, but you could also take the Sweden action, which is one of the 4 to the left, and those 4 can only be taken with its corresponding action token. So you need to have, you can now do the Sweden action. You can't do any other of the 4 special actions, and they are a bit more powerful. But you can do that one if you use the Sweden action token.
Okay, so I'm going to check what's on the market, and I can see that there is an advocate, and I'm interested because I actually have a bonus for when I establish an advocate. I get 3 silver, which is pretty cool. And that will be in Bulgar.
Yeah, which is where the heck down here.
Yeah, sorry, I shouldn't interrupt your train of thought with historical stuff.
That's far away. How can I get there? Wait a minute. Oh, that's too far. That's too far, Jon. I don't like it.
Where are you? Oh, you're.
So so I have some people here. I have some people in the Faro. I'm here, but then
have the other Faro boat, so you will be there in 2 turns.
Yeah, that's true. Or
moving boats doesn't seem so bad, does it, Fred?
1, 2, 3. So in the next turn I could do it. Maybe that would be worth it. How many coins I have? 5. I think I'm going to do that. So my first action is going to be an invest action. So I'm going to invest. I'm going to spend 2 coins, and I'm going to get Bulgar with me, and I already have Mastalus. So that is actually not that far. I just have to be in the south to establish him. So that would be a sound investment.
And south there means any of the regions, any post in the south, in the orange area, so to speak.
So I'm going to journey. It still needs to be in any post, but it has any post in the south.
In a post, yes.
Yeah. So I'm going to journey 1, 2, I'm going in the Atlantic Ocean, and now 3 in the Middle Sea. And I just want to say I'm the first one in the Mediterranean, and I think it says a lot about my will to develop our culture. And I think that you just being here didn't go that far, so I'm a
Well,
bit disappointed.
You
Aha.
did just
Well,
grab your
I thought it said
Yarsiva,
something
so-
about your tan.
I think it's just classic English that they would say they're the first in the Mediterranean. There are people there, Fred.
That's true. I'm already planning on bringing back stuff for the British Museum. So wait a minute. So what can I do now? So that was my second action. I could activate stuff. Maybe I should.
You could try the Sweden action.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. But I'm gonna give money to the other guy again.
No, I mean the Sweden special action. The Sweden follower.
Oh
action.
yeah. So I was thinking about this one. So the Sweden special action is so I can draw a card. If it's a venture, I can place a longship in a venture post and play the venture if possible. So I guess that's
Yep.
probably a good thing to try. So I'm going to place it here, and then I just draw randomly the top of the
Yep.
of the draw deck. Yeah. So let's hope it's a venture one, and it is. Nice.
Yeah, they're lucky.
So that's Bjarmaland. So here, and I place a longship there.
Yeah.
And I can exhaust 1 to perform the Russ action. And I have 1 left. And what is the Russ action? If I'm alone in a post,
So that if you are in a post
yeah,
where someone
established
else
by a river.
has a
Yeah,
friend. So, for example, Erik the Victorious has a friend there. So,
Yeah.
if you were there alone, you could persuade Edmund the First Eriksson to become your friend instead.
yeah, but I'm not.
So that's a way of stealing friends.
Fortunately, I'm not there, so that's not going to be possible. But that's good for me that I'm here. Oh, and I'm going to place my follower in the venture, I guess.
Yep.
That's nice. So that's that. And then I have 1 final action. And even though I don't like it a lot, I'm going to activate this one. I'm going to get 5. And I'm going to give you 2.
Yeah, I took my 2.
And you already took your 2. And that's the end of my turn. And I'm getting 2 coins.
Yeah.
Good.
And also, I'm sorry I said special action from the start. That's staying in what we're saying I hear, but it's influence action actually. That's the real correct term, and it's it says that on the board, Jon board. Sorry, keep on.
Okay, so let's put all mine.
I want to remind you, Stuart, that I already gave you 4 silver since we started.
It's been great. I've been having a
Yeah.
great time with that. I don't intend to return the favor.
Yeah, that's. I expected that.
I am Eric the Victorious, not Eric the Sucker. Come on.
Yeah.
Or definitely not Eric the Grateful. That's for sure.
No. How I fly. So first boat moves here, and then move into Byzantine territory. And then even if he's exhausted, I can establish. I parlay if he's exhausted.
Yeah, it's to activate that you're gonna have a problem, but parlay is fine.
Parlay.
Or this is actually play you're doing there. You play the card from your hand.
Play. Yeah.
Yeah.
Play. So then I get Sweden follower. Then I might just go to Khazar and do that as well. I just do that twice. Journey again. This boat. 1, 2. Play this one in. I get a little theocracy. Then I get 3 money at the end of that because I have 3 of my thing. I have 3 different
Yeah,
things.
3 of your types of followers that are placed.
There we go. Okay.
That looks like a pretty big turn for you. I don't like it. You don't
Yeah.
like it.
How do you feel about your first in the Mediterranean now? That when you arrive, we'll already be here with our friends.
Yeah, I'm the first in the Mediterranean, but you're already in the Byzantine Empire, which I feel really dumb about. I'm like, yeah, I feel like I missed something. Those rivers, yeah.
Sheesh. Yeah. Okay. So I believe it's my turn now, right?
It is indeed.
Yeah. It's your turn.
Okay.
Maybe you said that already when I was away, but each turn is thought to simulate about a year. And the game
Sure.
is thought to start in 950.
Okay. Gotcha. I guess the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to play whichever one that is. The venture. Where my guy is. There. And that gives me 1 Rus follower.
Yeah.
Cool. For our nice bear fur trade.
Actually,
Yeah.
that's actually pretty good.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, if you establish another one, it's gonna be really. It's already a pretty good pretty good. Yeah, it can be a really powerful economical engine here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
Becoming rich out of bears.
We need to burn this.
Second thing I'm going to do though is I'm going to invest. Just from the top deck, which I believe caused the track to refresh.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that.
Okay, an event of the unification of Norway in Trøndelag. And then I guess I will then, my third action, I will activate my guy in Burtas, which should exhaust the longship, then puts 2 longships right here.
Yep.
Yeah.
Great. So then naturally, my last step I'm going to do is move. Which I believe I'll move one of these. So let me go 1. Put me in the Black Sea, which will give me access to a lot of stuff. What stuff does that give me access to? We'll actually do it differently. 1, 2, and I'll move into Kumaria or Kumaria. But I can't quite get to Chang'an, so
Yeah,
we're going to be just outside.
Oh,
Yeah.
and Jan, we have a question from Russ here, who's asking if you control ventures in both posts in a region, can you make it a new home base? Or
Yeah, if you exactly. So that's a good question that's brought up now. That is called a duchy in the game. And so if you have 2 ventures in the same region and you control both, then you place one of your shields there, and that becomes a new place where you optionally, it's not the new place, you have another place where you can start your longship's journey from your Jarl board to. But this is it has to be 2 ventures. There are a few other special cases where other trade centers and such can be part of it, but normally it's 2 ventures. So places such as Kumania, which only have 1 spot for ventures, cannot become a duchy.
okay, I'm starting my turn. I guess you're done, Adam, right?
Yeah.
So I check my influence, and I'm not the most influenced in the Sweden followers anymore, but I am in the Rus because I have 2 to both of your 1s. So
Yeah.
I'm
And that's
taking.
worth noting that when you check this at the start of your turn, you don't have that majority anymore. You have to return it.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I returned the other one, and I took the rust one. And it says that if I'm alone, if I have a longship alone in a rivals, yeah. So that's what we were saying before. I can basically steal the advocate from someone else.
Yeah.
Thing is that
If
I
you-
don't really have the option to do that really. So I'm probably going to use it as a standard. As a standard.
Yeah, and there's not that many.
Okay.
I mean, it could be powerful, this particular thing that you could do it twice or even more times if you had more longships on that place. But
Yeah.
and
So I guess
also one thing worth noting is that the ruse ability makes there are a few friends that have not a specific place but north or south or that they are very fragile to ruse influence action.
I guess
Because then you can be any place.
the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to journey, and I'm going to move that longship here into Bulgar.
Yeah.
And once I've done that, I'm going to play a card. And I'm going to play Bjorn Ironside here.
Okay.
And that means
Bjorn
that
Ironside, famous from TV series.
I'm going to place a Jarl follower here on him, and I'm going to gain 3 coins because 3 silver because that's my special power. Puts me at 10. And then I'm going to play again. And this time I'm going to play Masterus 11 of, or the second of Amalfi here.
Yeah.
And I'm going to gain 3 again. And place.
And those 3 were from your special ability, if anybody was wondering.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, from the special ability that I have here. So it does 1, 2, 3. So that's 2 actions. And then, And then what I can do is I can parlay in Dublin.
Yeah, you can.
Because I have enough money to do that. And that's going to be another Jarl follower here. And that's going to cost me 6. So it puts me down to 7. That means
and while you do that, I can just mention when it comes to history, I took the liberty.
Technical difficulties got us at the last moment.
Yeah.
We were about to have something informative.
Anyways,
no.
I said.
Yeah. Go ahead,
so
Jon.
when we included things in the game, when we included things.
Oh dear. Appears the internet does not want Jon to finish that statement.
That's while we wait for we really lost Jon. But anyway, that was my 4 actions. So I did a journey. I played twice, and I parlayed in Dublin. Yeah. And I think that's it for me. And I have 4 kinds of followers on the board, so that means 4 coins for me. And back to you, Stuart. Jon, you're back. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Jon, you can hear us now. So you said that you took the liberty off. Yeah, and then it cut off. So we don't know what you took the liberty of.
Yeah. Well, you wonder. No, I did when I include stuff. Have you checked your car? No, have you? If when I included historical stuff, I took it 950, which was the starting point of the game, or the 900, so to speak, and then I took it 100 years back and forth. So that's why Bjorn Ironside is in the game, even though he's quite a lot earlier than 950. But there are a few people quite a lot younger as well, and that's more the liberty or the creative liberty of the sandbox feel of the game. So in this saga, that you're playing, Björn Ironside, didn't emerge until the mid 900s.
Sure.
So I have,
And I don't
just
think it takes anything away from the accuracy of the game, because it is not a simulation we want to create. We want to create something which is inspired from the reality.
Okay.
So I have just a quick question, Jon. So on my two advocates here, it says that after. Oh yeah. So no, wait a minute. It's a tile. Yeah, because I was looking at the shield, but no, it's a tile. Yeah. So that refers to this.
Yeah. So you have the icon to the right there that tells you when everything on your board, the gods and the advocates, they are all persistent abilities, so they are always active. But there is something helping you that this takes place if there is a parlay. The other one takes place if there is an invest.
Yeah,
so
I can see that on the top right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think I'm going to activate Byzantine to just get 3 money. Seems good.
So you get 3 money, and you're not giving money to anyone, right?
No
No.
sharing here.
So
Yeah. Exactly.
Not weak
Just
like
saying.
his precious glass to himself.
Yeah.
So I don't have to parlay. I don't have to activate, right? So I can move into Miklagard and then parlay there.
Yeah.
So we're going to journey from here. So 1, 2, and flip, and then we will parlay, and I will spend 9. Got 2. Put Sweden follower. Does this mean that people now pay me if they buy cards with the Sweden symbol on them? Am I parsing that right?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Including yours, but note that you have to pay first and then get it back. So you can't buy a card for 12 for
buy the fascinated
0.
card, for example, because
You
it's
have
4.
to
I
have
only have 2.
12 to
Yeah,
generate.
and be careful. This one has 2 placement for the followers, so you're gonna place a second one.
Oh, do I put both of them? I thought I had to buy them separately.
Yeah. So you get 2 followers out.
Okay, that's really good.
Yeah, that's
I thought
really
I
good.
had to, like,
It's
twice.
so good that I want to take it.
And then I think I'll just blind draw a card. Probably since I Fred that Dublin card that seems like it might be good. So I'll just draw one off the top. Ooh, it's a Miklagard event.
It's gonna refresh this.
Ooh. Okay, that's all my actions.
Good.
Okay.
Oh my god, this one is really big.
Yeah, Miklagard is. I mean, that's Istanbul today. The Swedish, the Vikings word of it was Miklagard.
Oh,
There was an important ally, or many important connections between the eastward Vikings and Miklagard.
absolutely. I think it's in 860. There's a report of it like Constantinople gets attacked by Olav of the Rus, and they actually surround the city briefly and get bombed out with Greek fire.
Yeah, and then they were friends. They had a elite troop of Vikings for a while. That were protecting the Sultan. That was later, I think. And Helgo.
This period and continues into the mid 12th century. Like Harald Hardrauti of Norway, as a teenager, was in Constantinople.
Yeah. So they were definitely, and that's Norway. Then that's not the Swedish one. So, but and you also have Helga of Kiev, who went to Constantinople to become baptized, and that was important for her keeping control of the Rus Empire, probably. So there you had some theocracy involvement.
Okay. I
Stuart,
think.
just a question for you. I don't think you took your income at the end of your
Oh
turn.
yeah, I
Yeah.
didn't. Sorry.
Probably shouldn't say that, but
Well, you should. This is
no, I'm joking. I should definitely.
Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to invest to grab this, which costs 4. And then I am going to move 1 from here over to here. And I'm going to play that, because I have that power,
yeah.
which gives me another Christianity. And I believe makes me the Duke of this random spot in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're now have you're the Duke of Burtas.
Perfect.
Does that mean
Wow.
that this gets just on the is both adjacent to the sea and like this?
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. That's
At least-
exciting.
No, wait a minute. The Dutchy rules were jumping around a little bit. I have to actually
Have I over jumped a bit?
double check that. That's something
Sure.
that is blurry in my mind. Did we make it as if it is that you have to move? It is. If
So
it's
it does
a
say
river,
add home marker to duchy you control, but it doesn't say specifically where
yeah,
you're placing
we had a
it.
clarification of this on Board Game Geek, and it is depending on some places are river regions which have only land venture places, and some are sea regions which have only ports, so to speak. And so if it's a duchy in one of those, you move out into the sea, and if it's a duchy in this area, you move to the land. If I remember correctly, it's a bit blurry actually in my mind now. But that's, as far as I remember, that's the way.
No worries,
ended
we'll
up.
play it here for now. Yeah.
Yeah, you can play it.
That's
I think
Perfect.
that this one is exhausted.
Oh yes.
And the problem was that it was a bit unclear that you could. In that case, you might be able to walk into a river region where you normally can't walk because they're a sea region because.
Adam,
Yeah.
I'm using the wrong term now. It's a bit late here in Sweden.
Adam, before you take your next turn, I just want to say something that might be important to you is that you are the most influence in the theocracy. So you
Oh yeah.
have,
Do I get that power immediately?
so you have the option of using it as a regular activation, or you can potentially use that that token to do that special action. So before you take another action, I just realized that you should have this. So that might be an
Yeah.
option that
You
you need
check
to
that at
consider.
the beginning of your turn.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. So if I don't have that until the start of next turn, right? Because I only just got it.
You can use it
You only
already.
just went to 2.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
get it in the
because
beginning. of
someone
your-
else had
But if
one
you get
earlier.
this now,
Yeah.
it
Oh
is what
yeah, no,
had
you
it-
just got it. Yeah, sorry, my bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I made a mistake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think the last thing to do for right now is to activate Kir, which gives me 3 silver.
Nice.
By the way, how do we get the second follower on each of these places?
So there are none. It's just that this one is a special tile.
Yeah, but I
Yeah.
see that there's a second location. Right, what's the symbol on the
Also on the
right
top-
side of the tile?
The top right, I think, tells you how.
Oh
you
yeah, those
can-
are all boats, aren't they?
So it
Yeah.
means
Yeah.
that you need to have a boat here to activate it.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and on your advocates, it tells you that it's a persistent because it's an infinity symbol and when it occurs. So it's a little aid just to know when this occurs. For Miklagård, for example, it's a persistent and
Yep.
invest, I believe.
Sounds good. And then I should gain. Do I gain 2 silver or 3 at the end of the turn then?
2 for now. Yeah, because you have 2
2,
types
yeah,
of
because-
followers. Yeah.
Per kind.
Gotcha. Yep. Okay, so that was my whole turn.
Okay, so back to me. I'm gonna check my
Before you get too
info.
lost, it is almost 10. I don't know if you want me to be kept track of you, Fred, but
You what?
Oh yeah, it's just we're at
Oh,
the
yeah.
2 hour mark just now.
Yeah, actually, so maybe we can probably pause here and we
Yeah.
can finish the game, the three of us, later this week, and take 5-10 minutes to maybe discuss a bit with Jon and share some of our thoughts. I think we got a good feel for the game. I probably need to remember what was my plan, but I had a plan, so it's something that I need to keep in mind. But yeah, thanks Stuart for keeping me on my toes. And maybe I could start with you, Stuart, because you've never played Pax Viking before, and I know we just started playing the game, but I would just be curious to have your early thoughts on two things: it compared to other Pax games. The first thing, and the second thing is really about how do you feel about how do you see the Vikings being showed in the game?
yeah. So the only other one I played is Premier Second Edition, which is, I guess, also a little bit less complex than some of them. But I think it's one of those. It's very hard to initially parse what you need to do, but now that we've played a couple turns, it becomes much clearer and doesn't actually feel that complicated. It's all just a little overwhelming at the start, kind of like you have this big blank board and all these options, and then now that we're kind of putting some strategies into place, I think it's a good one to just start playing, and that's been interesting. I really like how it handles the Vikings. I like this eastward expansion angle is great. It's great to see that in the game and to emphasize the kind of trading aspects of it. It does seem like we have some capacity to actually, fight each other a little bit, but I think it really shows the kind of reach of Viking traders and the kind of extent to which they explored, which is great. So yeah, it's really interesting.
So just one thing before I jump to you, Adam, regarding your point, Jon, for where to place the duchy. So Ross said that he was actually he checked the BGG and it's actually in the region unless otherwise specified. So when we placed it in Burkas, it shouldn't be on the border, but in the region itself. So for people watching this, if you want a clarification, that's the clarification. And thanks a lot, Russ, for checking this
Thank
up
you, Russ.
while we were playing. Really appreciate it. And so to you, Adam. So I know you didn't play any PAX games, so you don't really have any points of reference. But I was just curious to have a bit for your perspective on how do you see the Vikings being portrayed in this game based on the few turns that we played.
Yeah. So, like Stuart, I do really like this. I think there's the showcasing just how really enormous and hemispheric the Viking world actually was is not something we get to see very often. And I think by and large it's quite successful at showcasing this idea that we're establishing these emporia, these trade towns, as the primary mode of political organization that is then leading to these broader state formation movements. That's something that's really well attested and is really approaching consensus in scholarship. So it's cool to see that done up really well. I guess the one thing that I'm a little bit less certain of here, and this is probably just a result of the game, is these enormous political entities or geographic entities are kind of wild to me in a period where we really don't have like any large states. Like just within Denmark, right, we have 2 kings in Sealand, a king in Funen, what will become Schleswig-Holstein is its own area. Yeland is its own area. So we're having like 4 or 5 kingdoms within the boundaries of modern Denmark and northern Germany. And so then we're blowing that out into, right, really enormous geopolitical entities here. I'm sure that's just a game balance thing, but it does end up, I guess, shrinking the world a little bit. and really abstracting what's going on. But Jon, as you said, right, this is not a simulation. This is something that's really trying to create these big, high-level, adventurous narratives. And to that extent, I'm not particularly bothered by it.
So, as someone who used to live in Denmark, I have a different interpretation of that depiction of Denmark in the game. I think it's a purely anti-Danish Swedish bias.
I was going to say, I really appreciate that it has Dublin and not anywhere in England. It's always good to see when you live in Ireland.
Yeah, that's good.
Like, it's beautiful.
Yeah, I have to say, one little piece of information though is that in the next game called Untitled Viking, there will be an overlay placed upon the British Isles and Denmark, so that there will become 3 spots there where you can play some cards, and it will add 3 jarls. So the game can be the end state of the.
We lost Jon again at the crucial moment where he was overcoming his anti-Danish bias. So very sad. But we did hear the beginning of it. I like the idea of actually having an overlay here. I kind of like actually when you have expansion that are also slightly altering the board state and not adding new content. That's always a bit interesting.
Yeah, I like that idea too. It lets us get a little bit more granular without like overwhelming the whole game.
But yeah, so I guess while Jon probably maybe reconnects or not, so I guess we're going to keep on. I think it would be interesting for us to finish this game, just to see how it goes, to get a bit more of the dynamic. But I'm curious about your overall just maybe impression on, like, I would just generally on the gameplay. Oh, and Jon is back.
Sorry, it broke again.
I'm really enjoying it. I have to say, I'm not much of a PAX person from my little bits of dabbling in it. I haven't been, like, they're interesting games, but I haven't particularly enjoyed them. I'm enjoying this one a lot more. Premier felt like I think I actually won, but I didn't really feel like I knew what I was doing. And I feel like the first couple turns I know what I was doing, but that's fine because I'm learning the game. I kind of feel like I do actually have a sort of a strategy now in this one.
Yeah.
And it doesn't feel like too wild or random or just like impossible to parse. And so, yeah, I'm enjoying this significantly more than I have with my other bits of PAX.
And so, for having played a lot of PAX game, to your point, I think what's interesting here is that on this one, there is something that doesn't exist in the other PAX game, and that's the range of victory condition that exists within the game. Normally, they are fixed, and then you choose your path to victory. But in other PAX game, even though you know those victory condition and they are limited, the path to victory often feels a bit opaque and hard to grasp, especially when you're just beginning to play the game. In this one, you have this paradoxical situation where you discover the victory condition at the beginning of each game. It might be one if you're in your first 3 or 4 game that you haven't seen before, but it's still easier to define a path to it in a more natural way. I think it's, in other ways, it's a bit less opaque in terms of strategy. And the number of terms and everything, I feel that can be a bit overwhelming at first when you're taking your first actions and everything. And I think people watching could see that, especially when Jon was not here. I think that the 3 of us were struggling to figure out the different terms and everything.
Yeah.
But as soon as we got into the flow of it, actually, it's pretty easy to grasp. It can look a bit overwhelming, but it's definitely easier to read and understand. I don't know how you feel. How you feel about it, Adam, because I'm not sure you if you played those types of game that much usually.
Yeah, not as much. I guess, right, something that I'm a little bit unsure of is, right, especially at the start of the game, there's a lot of random pieces, right? So if the saga board here doesn't cooperate with where you're starting out, it feels like it could be a little bit difficult to get any sort of machine rolling, right? Because you need to like spend all your time moving around, trying to find places instead of being able to set up, start getting followers, let things go. But once I think once it starts going by about turn 3 or so you have time to compensate for that. I think definitely it's a really accessible and right, by keeping it down to one historical aspect, the establishment of these trade towns, and making everything else a little bit easier to deal with, less combat, no big crafting things, some events, but really just trade towns, trade towns, trade towns. Really lets us create something that's accessible while also being a really cool historical piece.
And you built quite a nice economical engine down there.
Yeah, I mean, it's not. I don't think it's as good as what you've got or what Stewart has, because I'm just not building right without control of like Birka to give my those
Yeah.
kind of like 3-5 every turn.
But yeah, it's but still, it's pretty interesting. There is one thing that I would like to ask both of you, because that's something that struck me quite interestingly when the first time I played. Is I like how geography is depicted in PAX games. Usually it's very abstract, but it shows interesting things. And in this one, for me, it was like quite mind-blowing to see that you could move across Europe from north to south directly to the Black Sea from the Baltics. And I thought it was super interesting to show this in the game in a very simple way, but you could see the mobility that you had with those long ships on those river networks. And I really definitely enjoy the geography. I don't know how historical it is, but it looks like it is. But then again, you guys would probably know more. But I thought it was a very interesting way to depict the geography of medieval Europe at that level.
Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, it's hard to overstate how important that is. Certainly in the Viking period, right? Well, have a bit loosely depicted in especially Western Europe, like the Seine, the Loire, and then in England the Thames and the Humber and the Severn rivers. But all of those are like the lifelines of trade through the entire Middle Ages. And in the Viking period, right? I mean, Ibn Fadlan goes up the Volga and finds these groups. The Dnieper is incredibly important as a through line from the Black Sea. And they don't always connect the entire way across. Sometimes you have to portage the boats. But it is these very, very closely intertwined river networks that do, as the game shows, reach all the way to India and bring goods and people from the extreme reaches of Eurasia all the way up into Scandinavia and back.
And actually, if I'm not wrong, Jon, I think that on the map board, if you really look closely to the map, you see some people holding the long ships on
Yeah, you can see them. Well, that's great.
And that's portage links, and they don't have any. Some people think they have some meaning, but we actually put them there more as a fluff. But they're put in places where the actual important portage spots were. But they are so that's why it could also be an indication of this is a river region, but it's not really. But it's ended up being so with the 2 exceptions or so. But they are just historical fluff put where the portage actually took place.
It's always nice to have a bit of fluff. Yeah, I think it's really appreciated. That's really cool.
Yeah.
But if that's okay, I think we'll wrap it up here. I guess that it's probably not the last time that you'd hear about Pax Viking on the channel. As I was saying earlier in the show, we're planning on doing a couple of live streams of teach and play, of playing games that are historical board games that are depicting Vikings and discussing them. So I wanted to thank you, Jon, for being here, for presenting the game and teaching us the rules. Of course, when the expansion is being released, I would be more than happy to have you back to actually present it, and maybe potentially having another teach and play with the 3 of us. That could be really fun. And we're also planning on having sort of a panel discussion with other designers, depending on what we're going to play in the next few months, to actually discuss like more generally an exchange between designers and historians regarding the depiction of Vikings in historical board games. So
the expansion or the one, the Vendel to Viking, it's going to be a Kickstarter in late September, October, maybe I'm not sure of the date. So it's already existing on Tabletop Simulator, so it could be played. I can get you to play it earlier than release if you want, but I can't send you a copy though until probably spring or something.
Yeah, sure. But I think when the Kickstarter starts, it would be great just to come and discuss a bit the what's
Yeah, sure.
a bit more in detail what's in the
one.
expansion. That would be
And
great.
I'm very happy. I really like the initiated feedback and thoughts you have on the subject matter. It's excellent to hear because I really am into Viking in particular, but always when I design games, I really like the fact behind it, so to speak, as inspiration. So really great to listening to this and see you play, and happy that you liked the games. And it's a fair point you had there that the geopolitical stuff was. I mean, there was thousands of small fives or jarls or that kind in this area that is spanning, but it's an approximation.
Exactly.
An abstract. Yeah. When board games, you only have so many factors you can expect the players to keep track of. So.
Yep.
But that's great. So thanks to you, Adam and Stuart, for coming and playing the game. I will keep you posted when we have our next session and we can finish this game and share the updates on Twitter. Thanks, Jon, for being here. I hope that you'll be back soon for other discussion about Vikings. Sure. And I would like to say good evening to everyone. Special thanks to Russ that was here also helping us figuring out some of the stuff that we were missing. Nice to have you on board, Russ, and expect to see Russ on the show at some point in the future to do another teach and play. But you'll know.
And also thank you to Andy and Sam who was.
And that's what I was about to say. Thanks to Andy and Sam that also filled in while you were out, trying to help us, avoiding us making some major mistakes. So it was really great to have some people that from the team to actually support. That was really cool. And thanks again to Ion Games. But that was have a great evening, everyone, and see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.